the standing curl down. So the standing curl down, if you can imagine a sit up being done while you're standing, basically you're reaching down to your toes, but you're curling your back down very, very gradually in a systematic way. So you see that done a lot with weights nowadays. People are jumping in a curl down from body weight, which is the original intention of the exercise, is to be do it curl down, a standing curl down with only your body weight. Now you see people doing it with weights, and they even haven't practiced it or practiced it doing it properly with their body weight. And they go on into all kinds of social media, and you even see like very famous so-called quote unquote influencers insisting that your back will improve. Even worse, insisting that your injuries will improve if you perform this standing curl down with heavy weights. I've seen a guy he's a very famous guy. I'm not going to name any names. He was holding 200-pound dumbbells, one in each hand, and he's attempting to do a curl down. The thing is, he demonstrated it totally improperly. He did not explain the parts of the body and the mechanics involved in the exercise. He did not explain the progression or the regression of the exercise. Whenever you do an exercise explanation, you have to explain not only the progression but the regression, which is a method of systematically working your way back to a simpler, easier, more basic form of that same exercise. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, just hold on, just 1 second. So this is supposed to be a standing curl down, an old exercise. I got to get back here. You start out here. Now the object is to curl up here, the spine. You start out with your upper spine. And you keep going. See, that's as far as I go. Why? Because I have a lot of conditions called facet joint syndrome. I'm not going to get into the technicality of it. Basically, facet joints are part of your spine, and they're a large part of your spine, and they're responsible for mobility as well as stability. Mine are arthritic, and they have bone spurs, which cause the spine to lock into place. That's why you don't see me able to reach down that far. But guess what? Hello, I'm not the only one with that condition, especially if you're an athlete. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, hello there. Hey, how you doing? Oh my goodness, I better hide. Wait a minute. Should I hide? I can only hide under my computer table. You think they'll find me? No, I'm not. No. Oh, Breaking Bad. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love that program. I think I watched all the episodes. I don't remember all the episodes, but I remember the bloody ones. I mean, jeez. I remember the bad ones. Yeah. How you doing? Thanks. That's a compliment. I like that. I like that program. Yeah, so I'm trying to reach down here, right? And I seen this big muscle guy. He's a social influencer. Oh, the two. Oh, you're gonna. Hey, you gotta brace yourself. It's kind of rough. The subject matter is kind of rough, you know. But the relationship between the characters is interesting, very interesting. Relax. Oh, okay, okay, relax. Okay. But I was talking about this topic about bending down and with your back rounded while lifting heavy weights, and it gets me excited because there's a lot of people on social media saying to do it, and I don't think it's safe. I want to show you again what I mean. You round out your upper back and you try to reach down. See, that's as far as I go. But I have osteoarthritis, which is a condition, it's a common condition among a lot of lifters. And it can get worse to the point where your spine actually grows and it kind of locks, which is the case with me. I'm not a full blown condition, so I'm able to have some movement, as you've seen, but it's partial movement. But yet, people on social media, like this big champion with blonde hair, I'm not going to get into his name. He claims to be natural. Yeah, well, okay. But he's like in his 50s and he's got like a tan, and he's saying that it's okay to do with bend down with heavy weights and round your back and not worry, and nothing's going to happen. And then his friends are saying that lifting heavy weights from the floor with the rounded back is actually going to cure you. Oh, hey, how you doing, Codile? Nice to meet you. Yes, the thing is that your spine has only the most movement in the middle, the top there. And when you get to the lower back, the spine there doesn't have a lot of movement there. And that's because that's where a lot of nerves are, that especially that affect your feet, and below the waist. And your body also has the lower back, I should say. The lower back is pretty bare. It's independent. But the upper back, the upper spine has the rib cage to connect it, so it's much stronger. So that's why you could bend more from the upper back, because you have the big rib cage there and it's supporting it. So you can imagine like a big cage and it's supporting your spine. It's going to be a lot more stable and stronger. But the lower back is just by itself. It has no one to hold it in place. So that's why the the body locked the joints in the lower back. They look like this, and they locked it with the thicker, the bones are thicker, so they're not meant to like bend as much. If you force them, they'll go. It's like anything you think. You force anything, it'll move, but there's going to be consequences like breaking. And or at the very least, those bones in the lower back, if you force them to bend, they'll rub and they'll become arthritic. And then you won't be able to move. A lot of people mistake that stiffness they feel for strength, but they don't think where they feel the stiffness in the muscle or the bone, because there are tests that you can do that could tell you where the stiffness is coming from, the muscle or the bone. But these people, regular people, they don't know. But they listen to this big blonde guy. He's over 50 years old and he's from Hollywood and he has all kinds of money and medical treatments. And yet he could go on and do things that a normal person can't because they don't have this expensive treatment. Yes, there's an excellent. See, I suffer from this condition. The way I prevented it, well, I didn't prevent it. I wish I had known what I know now. And the way to prevent it is to practice exercises that strengthen the muscles in that section of your lower spine. The muscles I can list: the upper part of the buttocks, right, right there on the top of your pelvis, on the top of your hips, the rear of your hips. You got you have the top of your buttocks where you can do exercise like pelvic tilts. You could do lying Superman, where you lie on your belly. I think I'll do a video on all these exercises because I would have to be jumping down on the floor, getting back up. I don't have an exercise studio here to show you, but later on I could go down to my basement and do all these exercises and show you. But yes, okay, the lying Superman, the bridge, something called basically you're strengthening your buttocks and your lower abs, and you're trying to do movements as well that you bend your spine from the top to the bottom really nice and slow, but supporting yourself with your hands and knees. So when you bend your spine and you're on your hands and knees, you have support and it's safe. It's not safe if you're standing up because you have nothing to support your lower back. Your lower back is not meant to bend that much. It's the spine. You could bend down. You could bend down like between 45 and 50 degrees. That's how far you're meant to bend down. So yeah. So to prevent it, another way of these exercises. I don't know if you could look up the cat cow and but getting back to the muscles that prevent it, the main muscle to prevent it is the core muscles. But the core muscles, you have to strengthen those core muscles. And the way when you're doing your core exercises, it's very, very important to learn to do them in all different core exercises. It's not, no one core exercise is the most important. People say, oh, well, this exercise will get you six pack, but that's not true. You have to do the core exercises because those are the muscles that are around your lower back region, including the stomach, the sides, the buttocks, are very, very important to strengthen. But let me show you again the standing curl down. See, when you see somebody lift weights like this, notice. You kind of know, if you can notice, my upper back starts to bend, but then it can't bend, it stops bending. And what happens is my hips start to go back. So that when my hips start to go back, that increases the distance of the spine, has decreases the distance that the spine moves away from the weight. So what do I mean by that? The weight is right by your feet, right? It's close to your feet, it's close to your lower leg, but now your hips are moving away from it. That means the spine is also moving away from that weight. The spine is like a crowbar. Can you imagine? Okay, I take this pencil. Can you imagine if I pull on the top? You see, it could break, right? Because I'm holding it at the ends. The pencil could break. So this is your spine, right? This is your hips, and see the pencil can break. But now, see the weight is here, and it's pulling your spine this way, it could break. But now if your hips were here, look, now it's pulling in your spine in the middle. You see how much stronger it is? This pencil represents your spine when doing a rounded back deadlift. Okay, the top is your spine, The bottom is your hips. The weight, you're trying to lift the weight. The more you move your hips back, look at that. That pencil and your spine. Goodbye. Oh, okay, so simply put, keep the weight close to your body. You have to. It's the golden rule. When you're lifting something from the ground, you have to keep it as close to your body as possible. But if you're bending your back, you're not going to be able to because your back only can bend between 45 and 50 degrees. This is something that people have to knock into their heads, especially that, like you see like the social influencers, they're from Hollywood and the blonde hair and they're over 50 and they got all kinds of things. They're taking all kinds of things to like help them stay young, but I can't. And the normal person don't have the money to that. But the social influencers are telling everybody, oh, you could pick up things and bend your back, even though your back will be very far away from the weights and bending like a pencil. Game over. The creatine and protein. Do you know that creatine is made up two amino acids? One of them is arginine. Oh man, arginine. The other one is, I forgot the other one. I'm sorry, but basically, the creatine comes from the muscle of the animal. Some plants have creatine too, but creatine is very acidic. When you're talking about creatine monohydrate, right? Monohydrate. It has two bonds of creatine. It's very dense and it's hard for your stomach to break down. Needs a lot of water. But for many people, it's very hard to break down. But it also needs to be absorbed by the liver. And it needs to be in order to be used by the body. And the liver can only use a certain amount at a time. Therefore, taking less is better, but also antioxidants help the body absorb the creatine because creatine has to be broken down into something called ATP. It's what helps you run. You could blink. All movement you have is made by ATP. So the creatine, in simple words, is a big chemical, big molecule, right? ATP is tiny. First, it has to be broken down in order to get into the muscle cell because the creatine is big and it's outside the muscle. It has to become a tiny ATP to get inside. So to do that, it requires something called enzymes. Enzymes. The enzymes are found naturally in fruits, vegetables that have antioxidants, such as pomegranate or grapes. Very good antioxidants. They do something. They take the enzymes and they help connect it with the amino acids inside the creatine, and it goes inside. It goes inside the cell, and the cell starts making it into ATP. But another thing about you said the protein. See, a protein could be dead, or protein could be dead or alive, just like the poster wanted, dead or alive. See, protein has enzymes too. And when those enzymes are present, they help break down the protein and your body can use it. But when you take a food like from the animal or from the plant, and then you start to heat it up, you're going to ruin everything. The protein don't work anymore. Many products heat up protein and they're not usable by the body. So many protein powders are like this pencil. You could chew it. It's not going to do anything. because it's dead. And so are many protein powders. You have to look for this is something that I should do another video on, because many proteins are not that are sold are not usable. You may ask, how do I know this? I worked for like over 10 years with many protein companies, for some of the top protein companies. I worked in a store that a companies used to come in. They used to bring a big protein jar, put it in front of me, says, buy this. And I used to say, I got to look at it first. And then I had to study and know what I'm looking at, so I can say, okay, I'll buy it, or no, I don't buy it. Liquid amino acid, it's the same thing. Many liquid amino acids are made of collagen, which is not usable by the body, but it's the process. It's how you make that protein liquid, that liquid amino, how you make it, because they're using heat, and that destroys the protein. The, the amino acids have to come from a natural form that's not heated up. It's natural, it's pure. You could say the amino acid has to be as pure. What do I mean by pure? Well, the amino acid comes from the animal or from a plant. It has to be as similar as that plant or that animal. So that would be raw, right? But you can't do that. You're not going to just go and eat an animal or just eat the plant. I mean, you could try, but that's what the cavemen used to do. But fortunately, the technology that helps, take out the amino acids but not destroy the animal tissue or the plant tissue. There's technology that does that. And it's called an extraction process. They don't use heat. They use something called cold press. They use like a cold press mesh. But to put it simply, they take out all the big bulk, the fibers and everything. And when it passes through the mesh, it leaves all that fiber and extra stuff behind it, and it just allows the amino acids and the protein to go through. Very technological, but it's expensive. So when you go to a store, they're going to charge you a lot of money for a good product, but you have to read the label. Unfortunately, a lot of people who in the business are out to just grab your money. They're out to just say, here, take it and buy it. Just buy it. Trust me. And they don't want you to read it. They don't explain things like I'm explaining, because I was one of the honest salesmen, and that's why I didn't last long. I could have made a lot of money, but I could have been a contender. I could have been a contender. I could have been someone. It's like Marlon Brando. Yeah. Liver tablets, same thing. It depends. If you take a liver tablet, it's all dried up, heated up, destroyed, killed. It's not going to do it. Your body's not going to use it. The liver tablet has to be as pure, almost raw. Okay, but it won't be raw without all the toxic impurities in it. So you have to get a good company that uses a process that can make the liver tablet almost as raw without all the toxic and impurities. So I worked a long time for nutrition companies, and I always did my own nutrition when I competed. I didn't have a coach or anything like that, but I read a lot. And I read and I read and I read and I read and I kept on reading, because it was also part of my job. I used to work in a store where athletes used to come in and they used to want to buy products, and the store had a lot of different products, a lot of different products. It wasn't like a lot of these other stores today that try to get the cheapest thing and sell it for the most money, and they don't have a good testing. The products don't have a good testing behind it. The nutrition industry this today, it's like that. There was a company that wanted me to work for them, but I refused because they just weren't good. I'm not going to put my name and my reputation behind a nutrition product that is not good. But like I said, I read about amino acids or antioxidants, nutritional products that my body can take and actually use. Especially I have digestive problems. If I take an amino acid or protein that's junk, it's going to get me sick. And believe me, I've taken things, amino acids that have gotten me sick because I didn't know any better. But then I started to read and I started to learn, educate myself. But it takes time. It takes time. It takes effort to go to the library, read about amino acids, but also, you know, research how proteins are made, how protein powders are made, how amino acids are made, because otherwise you're going to buy junk. But getting back, so yeah, Javid, it's junk. Most of the products out there are junk. Junk, 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 junk. Better off with food. Always better off with food. Food that agrees with you. You have, like everybody, Javid and everyone else, everybody either has an acid stomach or alkaline. I have a very acidic stomach. So certain proteins are too alkaline, they're just going to sit there. But the problem is that my digestion ain't that good, you know, and too much acid has to be balanced out with some alkaline. It's, so this is where the fruits and the vegetables, especially the vegetables, like the green vegetables and very alkaline vegetables like a potato, come in. Like, this is not meant for advice or instruction, but what I say is meant for educational purposes and based on my experience. A lot of people just go on like just eating protein by itself, and they create an acid condition. It's going to really make the stomach sick. But hey, did you hear about the guy who said to pick up the weight and bend your back and bend your back some more, and it's going to help you have a healthy back? Please don't listen to him because it's not true. Because the back is not strong at the bottom. The lower back is not actually a muscle in the lower back. The upper back has muscles. The lower back it's not a muscle. Anyone tells you the lower back is a muscle doesn't know the lower back. Okay? Because the lower back is made out of tissue, connective tissue, not muscle. It's made up of fascia, all connective tissue here. See that? That's your lower back tissue. So how does your lower back not break? Because this tissue is connected to muscles. The muscles of your core, the muscles of your obliques, the muscles of your diaphragm, all those muscles. Yeah. And the muscles of your entire back that starts at the top. It runs all the way down. But it's the whole back. But it's connected to a tissue. It's not a lower back. It's not independent. It's it's a tissue. It's connected to all the other muscles. So it's not a lower back. So if you bend down and anyone have any questions on deadlifts? Because this is something that can hurt, it could destroy you if you don't know how to do it properly. The golden rule, like I said again, is to keep the weight, when you lift the weight from the floor, keep it as close to your body as possible. When you're doing a rounded back deadlift, you have to move your hips away. This places stress on the spine and it makes the spine it puts the spine in a weak position. That's why you don't round your back. That's why you bend your knees. Have you ever heard the saying, when you lift anything from the floor, bend your knees? Well, I'm going to leave you with that thought and remind you, or you got a new person. Okay, any questions on the deadlift? Because I know everybody knows everything on the deadlift. Yeah, I know. And how do you know? Because I seen that this big blonde guy who has millions of dollars on Hollywood, and he lifts things from the floor, and he bends his back, and he says it's so wonderful. But I'm not a Hollywood star, and I don't have millions of dollars to fix my back when I break it. So you believe that guy? Please don't believe that guy. Believe what your body tells you. Listen to your body. Always pick up things from the floor, bend your knees, and keep it close to your legs. Don't keep the weight away. It's going to break. Your back is going to break like a pencil. And does anyone have any questions on deadlifts? While I'm on the topic, I can demonstrate a proper way to lift something using a kettlebell. Kettlebells are wonderful because you could place it not just in front of you, you could place it between your feet. You can't put a bar between your feet. You could put a kettlebell. But anyway, I'm going to leave you with that thought. And remember, watch my channel, Natural Fitness Lifestyle. I'll be doing an upcoming video how to properly do a deadlift.